It started out as a normal family gathering, but by the end of the night, 10 people would be dead. Our moment in crime is the Nepalese royal massacre. 75-year-old Durga Prasad Sapkota was the Brahmin priest chosen to emulate the dead king of Nepal. The Hindu Kato ceremony that was held that June day in 2001 was a rare but important one. Sapkota was dressed in a gold shalwar kurta. It was his duty to pretend to be the deceased king Birendra. Next came a meal of 84 delicacies laced with bone marrow. The fact that Sapkota was a vegetarian meant a break with the Hindu taboo. The meal symbolised the king's spirit carrying the evils of the world into exile. And into exile Sapkota would go. Taking the king's possessions with him, he rode out of the capital city of Kathmandu on an elephant and spent the next 3 days in the nearby town of Patan. After that, Sapkota had to leave the area and never come back, symbolising the exorcism of the dead king's spirit. Many Nepalese people watched the ceremony. They had been in a state of confusion since the very start of the month. The much-loved King Birendra was dead. Much of the Nepalese royal family had been wiped out. But perhaps the thing that had shocked the nation the most was the identity of the killer. It was King Birendra's son, the Crown Prince Dipendra. The royal family regularly held family gatherings at the Tribhuvan Sedan, a mansion located within the grounds of the Nirajan royal palace. Sometimes the get-togethers would happen as frequently as every month. The one held on the 1st of June 2001 would be the very last. The following details of the massacre that unfolded that night have been compiled from various news articles and the official report published by the committee that looked into the events. By the time Crown Prince Dipendra finished shooting that evening, 9 people had been killed and others had been left with non-life-threatening injuries. Whether or not the massacre was premeditated is not clear. There is one main theory regarding the cause of the massacre, whether spur of the moment or planned. The royal family were unhappy with Dipendra's choice of bride. Dipendra had met Devyani Rana whilst living in England. It didn't take long for Dipendra to fall in love with her, and he informed his family of his intention to marry Devyani. But King Birendra and his wife, Queen Aishwarya, had an issue with the young woman. The Nepalese royal family were a part of the Shah dynasty. Through her father's side, Devyani was a member of the Rana clan. The Rana clan ruled Nepal as hereditary prime ministers until 1951. This reduced the Shah monarch to only a figurehead. Even though the two clans have a history of intermarriages, they are opposed to each other. Devyani's mother is of Gwalior royal lineage. This particular Indian royal family was considered to be of a lower social standing than the Nepalese royal family. Relatives of Crown Prince Dipendra did not want to see him marry someone who had Indian relatives, as his girlfriend did. If Dipendra and Devyani married, the Shah dynasty would have to share power with the Ranas. Dipendra was given a choice. He could marry Devyani if he so wished, but doing so would mean that he had to give up his right to the throne. His younger brother Nirajan would become the crown prince. Dipendra arrives at the family dinner at 7:30 p.m. Despite having the chance to mingle with relatives, he chooses to play billiards by himself. He's seen drinking famous grouse whiskey. Half an hour later, he meets the Queen Mother and escorts her to the party. He then heads back to the billiards room. At 8:12 p.m, his first phone call to Devyani takes place. Telephone records show that they spoke for 1 minute and 14 seconds. After the phone call ends, Dipendra asks an aide to prepare a special kind of cigarette for him. These cigarettes are made to order for the Crown Prince and contain hashish and another unnamed black ingredient. At this point, guests begin to suspect that Dipendra has had too much to drink. Embarrassed by the way his son is behaving, King Birendra orders Dipendra to leave the gathering. Dipendra is accompanied to his bedroom by 4 people, including his brother, Prince Nirajan, and his cousin, Prince Paras. At this point, another phone call between Dipendra and Devyani takes place. Noticing his slurred speech, Devyani is concerned about Dipendra's well-being and telephones an aide, asking that Dipendra be checked on. Dipendra then speaks to his girlfriend again, this time for 32 seconds. He reassures her that he's fine and says that he is going to bed. He says they'll talk tomorrow. The couple will never speak again. Dipendra does not go to sleep. He changes into camouflage combat gear. From the collection of guns he keeps in his bedroom, he selects a Colt M16A2 rifle, a H&K MP5K 9mm automatic submachine gun, a Franchi SPAS-12 shotgun, and a Glock 19 9mm pistol. He then makes his way back to the party. Using the MP5K, Dipendra fires a single bullet at the ceiling of the billiards room, getting the attention of everyone. He then aims the gun at King Birendra. When Dipendra's uncle and the king's brother, Dhirendra, tries to calm Dipendra down, his nephew responds by shooting his uncle in the chest at point-blank range. Survivors of the massacre would later wonder if Dipendra lost it after killing the uncle he admired so much, leading to more bloodshed. He immediately leaves the room and throws one of his guns near a staircase. He then enters the billiard room again, firing indiscriminately at his loved ones, before throwing the MP5K into the room. As Dipendra leaves the room again, the king manages to get a hold of the gun his son has just disposed of. He's willing to shoot his own son in order to end the massacre. But Princess Shova intervenes. Thinking that the MP5K was the only gun Dipendra has, she takes the gun from her brother, King Birendra, and removes the magazine. Prince Paras takes the break in gunfire as an opportunity to hide some guests, including 2 children, behind a sofa. Dipendra then returns for the final wave of gunfire in the billiard room. Again, he fires indiscriminately at the guests and the staff. At this point in the massacre, 7 people have been killed. The dead include King Birendra, the only daughter of King Birendra and Queen Aishwarya, Princess Shruti, King Birendra's brother, Dhirendra, who had renounced his title, both of Birendra's sisters, Princess Shanti and Princess Sharada, Kumar Khadga, Princess Sharada's husband, and Princess Jayanti, King Birendra's cousin. Staff at the mansion were also killed. Dipendra has not yet finished killing. He follows his mother, Queen Aishwarya, and his brother, Prince Nirajan, as they flee the billiard room looking for help. The 2 head for an inner garden, and it's there that Prince Nirajan is shot several times. Queen Aishwarya runs to a staircase, the same staircase that leads to Dipendra's bedroom. It's on the staircase that the Queen begs her son to take her life, as she has seen her family slaughtered before her eyes. She reportedly screamed, "You have killed your father, you have killed your brother, kill me too." She too received several gunshot wounds. Dipendra himself would later be found on a bridge over a small pond located near his room. He had shot himself 6 times in the back and once in the left hand. The massacre had finally stopped. Dipendra was now the king of Nepal, but his reign would only last 3 days. He never woke up from the coma he was in and died on the 4th of June. His uncle Gyanendra had been appointed regent while his nephew was in hospital, and ascended the throne upon his death. While Dipendra was alive, Gyanendra said that the massacre came about due to an accidental discharge of an automatic weapon. King Gyanendra later defended his words, saying that he made the claim due to certain restraints. Due to the constitution, Dipendra could not have been charged with murder had he survived. King Gyanendra set up a committee to investigate the events of that night. The committee was made up of two men, the Supreme Court Chief Justice, Keshore Prasad Upadhyaya, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Taranath Ranabhat. Over 100 people were interviewed during the week-long investigation that eventually concluded that Dipendra was the perpetrator. The official report was not able to stop the rumours and theories from circulating about the massacre. To start with, Dipendra was popular with the Nepalese people. To them, it didn't seem right that Dipendra had been painted as a murderer. Many felt that the facts and evidence referred to in the official report were contradictory. The chairman of the Nepalese Maoist party, Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda, suggested that the massacre was the work of the Indian intelligence agency RAW or the CIA. King Gyanendra himself became the target of accusations. Like his son, Prince Paras, he was unpopular amongst the Nepalese. Gyanendra hadn't been present at the massacre. Was it possible that he planned to have his nephews Dipendra and Nirajan killed so that he could claim the throne on Birendra's death? Why had nobody in Gyanendra's family died, while Birendra's family was wiped out? In the years after the massacre, more rumours floated around. One theory was published in a book about the murders, Raktakunda. It suggests that two men masked as Dipendra fired the bullets that caused the massacre. Then there was the rumour put forward by a Nepalese soldier based at the royal palace. He reported that Prince Paras came to the gathering with someone wearing a Dipendra look-alike mask. The soldier was witness to Dipendra's death. He claimed that Dipendra was shot 6 times in the back and once in the left hand before the killings began. The Nepalese people have never really recovered from the shock of the royal murders. Thousands lined the streets for the victims' funerals. They were cremated at a sacred site near the capital. Riots led to the deaths of 2 people and many were injured. 3 nights of curfew had to be enforced so that peace could be restored. The Tribhuvan Sedan was demolished. The monarchy itself would only survive until 2008. King Gyanendra seized absolute power in 2005, but protests led to the abolition of the monarchy. The Nirajan Hitti royal palace became a museum. But even though well over a decade has passed since the massacre, it could be said that Nepal is still in mourning. Janardhan Sharma summed up his country's feelings when he said, "Shocking is an understatement. We have been orphaned by this loss." Thank you for watching this episode of One Moment in Crime. Subscribe for more videos each week. I wish you pleasant nightmares.